Started today with our County Commissioner Business Meeting. Today's date is February 4, 2025. The time is 2 p.m. In attendance are Commissioners Eberline, Duncan, and Matari. I want to call this meeting to order. Let's begin with a moment of silence. Okay, next up is the Pledge of Allegiance. Asa, could I get you to start that for us? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, public comment. Hearing none, let's move on. I'll take a motion for the meeting minutes.
I move that we approve items 1 through 6.
Second.
Commissioner Eberline?
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan? Aye. Chair Matari?
Aye. Consent calendar.
I move that we approve items 7 through 16.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said just a second, and I was waiting for you. Commissioner Eberline?
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Chair Matari?
Aye. And payables.
I move that we approve the payables for January 27 through 31, 2025 in the amount of $3,024,569.98, along with jury panel payments $719.03.
Second.
Commissioner Eberline?
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Chair Matari?
Aye. Okay, let's move to business. Item number 18, Board Approval Request. Proceed with request for qualifications for tower services with the airport, and we have Kim Stevenson on the telephone.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Kim Stevenson with the airport for the record. We are planning the staffing of our seasonal tower again for this year. Funds were budgeted and approved for FY25. So we would like approval from the board to move forward with the request for qualifications for air traffic control tower services. This year we're requesting information for both 6 months and 12 months of services. After doing a bit of research, we believe a year-round tower might be a viable option, and so we're including in the RFQ just to see what bids look like when they come back. The RFQ was put together by our engineering consultant and reviewed by County Legal.
Thank you. Questions? Motion?
You good? All right. I move that we approve the request to proceed with the request for qualifications for tower services.
Second.
Commissioner Eberline?
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Chair Matari?
Aye. Motion carries. Item 19, renewal of 3-year 700 megahertz Memorandum of Understanding with Post Falls Police Department and our 911, and I believe we have Colin McRoy on the telephone.
Yes, good afternoon, Commissioners. Colin McRoy, Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, 911 for the record. This is the standard radio system access MOU, just a renewal with Post Falls Police Department. They have some radios on the system and would like to continue, and so their MOU is up for renewal.
Questions? Motion?
I move that we approve the renewal of the 3-year 700 megahertz MOU with Post Falls Police Department.
Second.
Commissioner Eberline?
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Chair Matari?
Aye. Motion carries. Item 20, renewal of 3-year 700 megahertz Memorandum of Understanding with the Rathdrum Police Department and our 911, and Colin McRoy again, please.
Commissioners, Colin McRoy again. Same thing with Post Falls. Rathdrum Police Department has some radios on the radio system and would like to continue to, and their MOU is up for renewal, and just seeking your approval.
Questions, motion?
I move that we approve the renewal of the 3-year 700 megahertz Memorandum of Understanding with Rathdrum Police Department.
Second.
Commissioner Eberline,
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan,
Aye.
Chair Matari.
Aye, motion carries. Next up, item 21, grant agreement number C2579KC, Idaho Transportation Department, FTA 5339, statewide funding agreement for bus and bus facilities program in the amount of $396,000 with a match of $99,000. This is with Transit, and Chad Engel, please.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioners. Chad Engel with the Transit Department for the record. We are seeking approval for the grant agreement with the Idaho Transportation Department for the purchase of our demand response paratransit vehicles with FTA 5339 funds. This agreement has been reviewed and approved by legal.
Any questions? No. I do have a comment that, you know, one of the challenges for being a commissioner up here and having these grant requests before us is that we don't really understand what we're saying yes to in the bigger picture of things. And, you know, we don't want to be in a situation where we create a problem. However, I think it's prudent as a commissioner that we should know when we have a grant request before us that we understand what it is we're saying yes to, how it fits into the overall scheme of the service levels, and is it the service level that this board wants inside the county. And so I personally am resistant at this point in time to accept more grants until we can have a little better discussion about how it fits into what we're doing, and is what we're doing what we want to be doing as a board. So those are my only thoughts with respect to this new grant.
Bingo.
So just for clarification, this is a replacement of buses grant, so we're not expanding or doing any additions. It's just the replacement of buses.
Mm-hmm. Is there a deadline when we can receive the funds?
Well, the grant performance period starts in October, but the issue that we run into is that for planning purposes with FTA, we're required to make sure that we have it in our program of projects, which then goes into the Transportation Improvement Plan with KMPO, then the State Transportation Improvement Plan with Idaho Transportation Department. And we are currently working on that information now, so we need to be able to plan for that so we know if we have the funds in place.
Well, how long do you think it would be? Well, that doesn't really answer the question. When would we have a deadline when we would have to make a decision that it's going to actually affect things?
So, I mean, for our planning purposes, it would be now because we're working on our planning for the future. As far as for the grant itself, we just have to have it fully executed before there's any transactions that occur on the funding that's in place or would be in place.
Chad, when is that plan due?
The program of projects?
Yes.
We'll have that before the board in March is usually when we bring that before the board.
Okay.
So this is not an acceptance of the grant. This is just submitting to get the grant. Is that correct? No?
No, it was from last February. So February of '24 is when the application was. So this is the acceptance of the grant.
Yeah. How long do you think it would take, Chad, for us to maybe have a sit down with the board and really discuss, you know, what the service levels are, what you know, the where we can talk about where those service levels should be, and then also, you know, how this fits into the overall picture of the entire transit program?
Well, I mean, that's board decision as far as when you'd like to see that happen. I would just say that it should probably include more of the partners as well.
Well, I mean, that's fine. It's really just a matter, but when you say partners, who do you referring to exactly?
Well, the jurisdictions, the tribe, everybody who participates in the public transportation.
Well, right now, they provide money and match, but we're the ones that are largely responsible for it, right? The board kind of sets the direction.
Yeah, the board is the ones who are the recipient of the funds at this moment in time. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. I mean, if we could do something in the next week or two, that would be great. I think it would be a good exercise, especially since Commissioner Eberlein is relatively new and we can talk about this. I know you went through a presentation, I think it was last spring, but even for myself, it was a little bit, newer just to discover some of the other things that we've been doing with respect to the Kootenai Health buses and things like that. And as we get these grants, I think it would help to understand how they fit into the scheme of things again, because we're being asked to say yes. You're telling us that it's for replacement, and I have no doubt for that. But it just leads to some questions about, how does this work in the bigger scheme of things?
So just for your information, this ain't my first rodeo.
I understand. It's just that maybe some things have changed, maybe they haven't. I don't know what you know, but I know that there's a lot that you do know. So that's where my head is with this particular grant. If you think you can do that, or this board wants to approve it, I'm fine with that too.
Chad, what is the lifetime on these buses? What's the, I know
The
it goes...
expected useful life.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
sorry, go ahead. Okay,
That's-
yeah, so the expected useful life is 5 years or 150,000 miles.
Okay.
Can we plan something in the next 2 weeks to go over this?
If that's what the board would like, that's what we would do.
Well, you have one person here who would say that, if there's a second.
Mark, is that what you want to do?
Pardon?
Is that what you want to do? You want to have a discussion about the future of transit before we approve this grant?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we'll revisit this one. Next up is item 22, vehicle maintenance agreement, Kootenai Truck and Auto Repair with Transit, and again, Chad Engel.
Thank you, Commissioners. Chad Engel with the Transit Department for the record. This is an agreement with Kootenai Truck and Auto Repair to provide maintenance and repair for our paratransit vehicles with a term of 3 years and a total value not to exceed $75,000. Legal has reviewed and approved.
Questions? No? Commissioner Eberlein, do you have any questions?
No.
I do. Under Exhibit A, we have 3 vehicles, the 2016 Chevrolet 4500, the 2019 Ford E450, and the 2023 Ford E450 Cutaway. Are those the only 3 vehicles that would be maintained?
Those are the 3 types of vehicles, yes, that would be maintained. That's
Okay.
correct.
So it would be all of the vehicles that fit that make and model and year?
Correct, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have, from my understanding, we have 7 2023 Ford E450 Cutaways and 5 2020 Ford E450 Cutaways. So the 2020s are excluded?
It would just be our cutaways that we currently have, and I can, let me see, I don't have that directly in front of me right now, but yeah, it would be our 2019s, our 20, it wouldn't be our 20, it'd be our 2016s, let me see, and 2023s. So we have, yeah, our 2016s, 2019s, and 2023s.
Okay.
So that's all we have for our paratransit cutaway buses.
20, can you say the dates again, the years?
2016, 2019, and 2023.
and 2023. Okay. And then the only other questions with respect to this is, we don't really have VIN numbers, and typically when you do the maintenance, in order for the organization that's providing the maintenance, they would write down the VIN number of the vehicle that they serviced. On the 2016 Chevrolet 4500 and the 2019 Ford E450, that does not appear to be on the asset or in the asset system. Are these vehicles that are owned and maintained and managed by Transit?
Yes, that's correct. They should be on the asset list, and I'm 90% sure they are. I don't have the asset list in front of me, but they should be in there.
Okay. Well, provided they're on the asset list, I don't have a problem with that. And then we probably should just amend this to include these other years, 2016, 2019, and 2023, and preferably even VIN numbers, because that way we can list specifically the vehicles to be maintained and not just a make and model, which could mean, it'd be a little harder to track.
So I have a question then, because I'm not sure what you're looking at. So right here, vehicle covered by the schedule. So it's how many multiples we have of each of them. So you just want the VIN listed on the amendment?
At the very least, at least the years. I mean, we're only saying that they're going to provide maintenance for a 2023 Ford E450.
But I have 2016, 2019, and 2023 on, it's page number 235.
Okay, well, then forgive me for that. So I just looked at what the exhibit was in the agreement there.
Yeah, Exhibit A, preventative maintenance schedule, and then it...
Because it says vehicles covered are the vehicles in Exhibit A. Vehicles not covered are vehicles not listed in Exhibit A.
Okay.
So,
Makes it a little bit confusing.
yeah. So that's
in Exhibit A, it has 2016 Chevy 4500, 2019 Ford E450s, and 2023 Ford E450s.
Okay. Well, that's
just to make it so that we can take care of the fleet. We don't specifically list the VIN numbers, because then it restricts if we do purchase new vehicles, which we can obviously go back before them and ask them if they're willing to participate in it. But we don't list out the specific VINs just because it's sufficient to have just the make, model.
Yeah. Well, that's fair enough.
Of the models that they're doing.
That's fair enough. So, provided that the 2016 Chevrolet 4500 and the 2019 Ford E450 are on our asset list, I don't have a problem with this. We should get this approved.
Yeah, which they should be.
All right, then I move that we approve the vehicle maintenance agreement with Kootenai Truck and Auto Repair with Transit.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Commissioner Eberline?
Nay.
Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Chair Matari?
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Next up is item 23, grant agreement number 02270KC, Idaho Transportation Department Amendment number 2, performance period extension. This is with Transit and Chad Engel again.
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. Chad Engel with the Transit Department for the record again. This is an extension of the performance period for our 5310 grant agreement with the Idaho Transportation Department. The grant supports the purchase of service to provide transportation for older adults and individuals with disabilities. Legal has reviewed and approved.
Questions? I'm just curious, how come we didn't spend the money within the original performance period?
We just had other money that had to be spent before, and so it just was more funding than was able to be spent due to using older funds so they didn't lapse. And so is a new process that ITD did this year, where they decided that instead of re-obligating the funds, they wanted us just to extend the performance period. So it was just a little adjustment that ITD made this year.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Questions? Motion?
I move that we approve grant agreement. Oh, I wrote over my thing. Is that a 0227 0KC Idaho Transportation Department, amendment number 2, performance period extension?
Is there a second?
I second it.
Commissioner Eberline?
Nay.
Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Chair Matari?
Aye. Motion carries. Next up is item 24, board approval request. This is a community action partnership. Board of Directors, public official designee, Corey Smith with the BOCC, and we have Commissioner Leslie Duncan.
Yeah, so Community Action Partnership, they provide assistance with food, heating bills, apartment rentals, and older citizens through the Area Agency on Aging. And Mr. Smith has been a part of that program for years. I think he's actually the treasurer. So previously he was Bill Brooks' appointment, and now since I've taken over that liaison, I would like him to continue in that role.
Questions? Motion?
Second.
I move that we approve the Community Action Partnership Board of Directors Public Official Designee, Corey Smith.
And we need a second.
He pre-seconded.
Pre-second.
Commissioner Eberline?
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Chair Matari?
Aye. Motion carries. Next up is item 25. Board approval request, tax deed bid, AIN 166952, Hutchinson with the BOCC. And I believe, Commissioner Duncan, you have the
I
bid.
do. Sealed bid. All right, and the sealed bid from Mr. Hutchinson is for $1,000 for, let's see, it should be an AIN, 166952. I believe that Mr. Hutchinson is not a contiguous parcel owner, and therefore, community development staff recommends that we only sell to a contiguous landowner for this particular small parcel that does not have building capabilities.
I would tend to agree, just given some of the challenges we've had from people who bought properties next to others that they did not own the property that they purchased. We've had some issues with coyote heads and other things.
Yep.
So I guess basically we will acknowledge the bid but not accept it.
Well, we just say we're not going to sell it to them.
Yeah.
So,
So no motion required.
correct, or I can,
That's, you can make a motion to reject, or you can just not take action, which is the same thing.
yeah, so I move that we reject the bid for AIN 166952, Party of Hutchinson.
Any second?
Yeah, there's a second.
Commissioner Eberline?
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Chair Matari?
Aye. Motion carries. Next up, item number 26, Resolution 2025-17 to classify records. This is with elections, and we have Asa Gray with us.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Asa Gray from Elections for the Record. Before you today is a resolution to classify records of the Elections Department that have surpassed the retention time required by Idaho Code 34-217. And then this also will tie in with the next item, which would be the resolution to destroy those records. So I stand for any questions you may have.
Questions? Motion? Can we do a motion together?
Yep.
How about I'd like to ask a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me, what's the time period?
So it depends on the record. Certain records are So records such as poll book logs, receiving logs, correspondence related to a voter's registration, those have to be kept for 5 years from the time of the record creation. Voted ballots have to be kept for 2 years, so do outer envelopes for absentee ballots. There's another subsection of records that have to be kept for 1 year, such as tracking logs of ballots that are sent out to polling places. And then there's also records that have to be kept for 60 days past the contest period for an election, which typically ends up being about 4 months from the election, because the contest period is based on the canvass date, which is based on the election date. And those records tend to be things like spoiled ballots, anything that's not listed specifically in the statute that has to be kept longer falls under that subsection as well, such as the internal secrecy sleeve that a voter's absentee ballot goes in prior to it going in that outer white envelope. So those are some examples.
You know your stuff. I appreciate that. You take care.
Okay, a motion?
I move that we approve resolution numbers 2025-17 and 18, which is to classify and destroy records per Idaho code.
Second.
Commissioner Eberline,
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan,
Aye.
Chair Matari.
Aye, both motions carry. Next up is public comment. Does anyone want to say anything? Anyone on the phone? Nope. 2:26 p.m., meeting adjourned. Thank you.